Big news as of yesterday, MLB is going to crack down on foreign substance abuse again after they cracked down on it last year and didn't do anything, and then last year, and it's been illegal for, anyway, more of the same, I guess. But I'm going to break down the memo, and I have it right here with me, so I'm going to read it to you guys and give you my thoughts and some back history and stuff like that. But you'll only get to see that if you pause the video right now and hit that subscribe button, because this video is for subscribers only. So I'll let you do that right now. I first got wind of this through a tweet that was sent to me, and I haven't had a chance to read the full memo yet, so I'm going to do that right now and give you my live reactions. But before we get into that, I have to say that it's good that MLB is finally starting to listen to this and finally starting to I guess, attempt to posture like they are serious about doing something. I've been talking about this issue for many years now, got ridiculed for it when I first said something back in 2018. I've had multiple conversations with the league office, but in typical MLB fashion, they don't actually care to do anything until it becomes a large black eye in the public sphere. So now that we have many videos of people kind of using foreign substance in the game and a whole bunch of backlash about it publicly, now they have to signal that they want to actually do something about it. I don't think they actually do. I don't think they actually care about changing the rule to maintain a fair and competitive landscape. I think what they really want to do is change the rules so that hitters can hit better, so they can get more action into the game, which is not a bad thing. Getting more action in the game and trying to make the game more popular, that's not a bad thing. But only caring about enforcing a rule in the sense that it's now a public black eye, a public stain on the game, and to try to enforce it to get something else out of it is just a little bit weak, in my opinion. And the reason I hold that opinion is from multiple conversations that I've had with personnel from the league office this spring training. I've had conversations in the past, all the way up from the commissioner himself down to people that work in the league office. I've had two of those conversations this spring training, and a lot of the stuff that I'm sure I'm going to talk about and think about when I read through this memo here in a second was brought up on those calls. My original point back in 2018 was there's no good way to go about enforcing it, so you should legalize it and standardize it for pitchers to use, but it doesn't seem like we're going that direction. It seems like we're going more for a public posturing of we're going to enforce the rule, but not really enforce the rule. So with that being said, let's get into the memo. Number one, and I won't read the whole thing, but number one, increased monitoring of club spaces. Game day compliance monitors, GCMs, and electronics compliance officers, ECOs, will monitor for violations of the foreign substance rules in the dugout and clubhouse area, including the tunnel, the batting cage, and the bullpen. GCMs and ECOs will file daily reports with the commissioner's office that detail their findings. Okay, so this is just intended, like the rule last year about bullpen catchers and pitching coaches and team personnel, this is just intended to try to force all of the team personnel out of it. And so if a player is using it, it is only on the player so that they can have, they can just discipline the player. This isn't going to change anything materially. It's very easy to understand when and where those people are and what they are and are not allowed to view. For instance, like, I don't think they're going to be following you into the restroom. So if they expect that part of the rule to affect anything, not going to happen. I think this is just kind of like parking a police car on the side of the road where you hope to spark in people's minds, oh yeah, maybe I should follow the speed limit or something like that. I think that's what that is about. But that's not going to materially change anything, and it's not going to clean up anything in the cheating realm or use of foreign substance realm. Number two, inspection and documentation of baseballs taken out of play. We have instructed umpires, GCMs, and ECOs, and authenticators to submit baseballs that come out of play to the commissioner's office for further inspection and documentation. They will prioritize baseballs that contain potential evidence of a foreign substance, but also will randomly select balls to ensure full coverage. The commissioner's office, in partnership with a third-party lab, will determine whether baseballs contain any evidence of a foreign substance, as well as information describing the type and quantity of substance used. MLB will track which pitchers are responsible for balls that contain evidence of foreign substances. Now, this is where I have a real problem with it. So what this is saying is they're going to take baseballs out of play. They could be, foul balls hit that dribble to the dugout. They're going to grab those and throw them out of play. They could be, I guess, the pitcher just throws a strike. Are they just going to say, hey, give me that ball and throw that out for sampling? I don't know. Maybe they're They're going to be balls that are put in play, or maybe a ball that hits in the dirt on the plate, and you have to change it out anyway. So they're going to take a sampling of baseballs from a big league game, and then they're going to try to determine what substance is on the ball and track which pitcher has supposedly applied or used that substance. My question is, since it's only illegal for pitchers to have foreign substance on their person, on their body or whatever, it's not illegal for a catcher to have it on his shin guards or his chest protector, as we've seen. It's not illegal for a third baseman to have it on his glove or a center fielder to have it on his glove. So far as I am aware, potentially a rule change or there's some language, but as far as I know the rules of baseball, it is legal for those players to have stuff on their gloves. So my question is, if I throw a pitch and it gets thrown out and tested and then has a foreign substance on it, how do they know that it came from me and not from the catcher's glove or from the third baseman's glove or on a foul ball? What if it happened to hit the handle of a bat where a hitter has pine tar or whatever other substance he wants, which is completely legal so long as it doesn't go too far up the bat? How are they going to tell that that was me and fault me for using a foreign substance when it could have come from any host of other places that are all legal? That's one problem I see with it. And two, they say later in this memo, I'll read it to you in a second, that they're going to posthumously bang pitchers that have been determined to have used a foreign substance. They're going to, after the game, be able to go back and say, if you tested positive or your baseball tested positive for foreign substance, they're going to be able to suspend you or discipline you or whatever the case may be. And I have a problem with that. But let's get to number 3 really quick. Spin rate analysis. The commissioner's office will review StatCast data to analyze changes in spin rates of pitchers suspected of using foreign substances. Such analysis will include comparisons of spin rates to career norms for players and changes observed during or immediately following certain game circumstances. What a doozy. Okay, there are some serious problems with this. Let's break this down sentence by sentence. First sentence, the commissioner's office will review StatCast data to analyze changes in spin rates of pitchers suspected of using foreign substances. How are you going to find a pitcher suspected of using foreign substance? So is this just going to be the person who is in the GIFs on Twitter, touching his hat and his finger stick, or like rubbing his arm, or like grabbing his glove, whatever the case is? Like, are those going to be the people on the suspected of using foreign substance list? And are those the only people that we're going to analyze? Because it kind of sounds like they're only going to analyze StatCast data of pitchers suspected of using foreign substances. So I guess the pitchers who are really good at hiding it and applying it in a way where no one suspects them are not going to be checked, and the pitchers who are not as good at hiding it are going to be checked, which to me just doubles down on the thought that they don't actually care about the rule, they just care about the public perception of it. But let's go a step further. Such analysis will include comparisons of spin rates to career norms for players. Let's stop there for a second. Career norms for players. So let's take a random player, player X, and player X comes up to the big leagues, and in the minor leagues, player X started using foreign substance. So when he comes up to the big leagues, he spins the ball at, let's say, 2,500 RPM on a fastball. And every year of his career, he spins it at 2,500. Well, this year, there will be no difference between his spin rate this year and his career norm, but he's still using foreign substance. So is he now immune to the rule? How are you going to tell when someone started using foreign substance and when they stopped, or if they've been using it the entirety of their career or just in the last year? And what about the people who have a small spike in spin rate? Like, let's say your spin rate goes up 125 RPM from one year to the next. Like, is there a chance that you can do that naturally? Like, what happens if you were cutting the ball a little bit and you just happen to get behind it? Maybe something changes, you throw a little bit harder. There's a lot of variables that go into this. So I'm going to give MLB the benefit of the doubt, even though I probably shouldn't. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they understand all of these things, and they're going to actually take into account how much spin rate goes up per mile per hour. That's Bauer units. You have, and this is the reason I developed Bauer units, is so you can tell and compare pitchers that are throwing 90 to pitchers throwing 98 and say, what is their ability to spin the ball? Well, when you throw 98, the ball's going to spin faster than when you throw it 90. That's just the case. So if I throw a pitch 90 and then I throw it 98 and the spin rate jumps 200 RPM, which is about what it would jump between 90 and 98 completely naturally, am I going to be suspected and checked for using foreign substance? I'm assuming the league's going to understand some of these things, but given the conversations that I've had this spring and the things that they haven't thought about, I don't have too high of confidence on that. And the next question is, what happens if you use foreign substance on some pitches and not on others? Well, you can just really balance out what your average spin rate is. So let's say my average spin rate with no foreign substance is 2,400. And let's say I add foreign substance and it becomes 2,600. And then I can put sweat on my hand and make it slippery, and it can go to, let's say it goes to 2,100. Or 22, let's say it's just 2,200. Well, my average spin rate is now 2,400, and I can just do that for the whole entire game, but one ball is going to be spinning 26 and one's going to be spinning 22, and so that's vastly different movements at the plate, and so it actually makes it a lot harder for hitters to hit that because they never know what characteristic of the pitch they're going to be getting, and you can still make your average be the same. So there's a lot of problems with that. So what you have to look for, and this is something that I've known for many years and have talked about to the league office, is you have to be able to normalize different pitches and check pitch to pitch and find the signatures of how when foreign substance is applied and when it falls off. But the problem with that is there's a lot of legal substances that you can apply to the ball on the mound that can drastically change the spin rate. Like, let's say you have sunscreen on and it's a day game and you put rosin on it. Well, that becomes a very sticky substance, but both of those things are legal. So are we now going to say that sunscreen and rosin is illegal? The combination of them is illegal, but having both of them is legal? That's one case. Like, what if I want to put sweat all over my hand and throw a changeup so it spins 600 or 700 RPM less than what I normally throw it at, and I get more movement there? Are we going to say that sweat is illegal? What if I have water on the back of my hat and my hands don't sweat? And so every time I need some moisture, I touch the back of my hat and I get water on it. And now I have a little bit better grip and my spin rate spikes up on a fastball. Like, that's been proven to be true and for multiple different individuals. So how are we going to handle that? There's just a lot of problems with it that I don't think have been well thought through. And certainly not in the conversations that I've had with the league's office. Now, maybe behind the scenes, they have people that are thinking about all of these things. But again, my confidence level isn't very high on that because every time I talk to people about this specific topic, they're like, wow, I never thought about all that stuff before. So there's a lot that you have to think about. Let's continue reading. Such analysis will include blah, 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 and changes observed during or immediately following certain game circumstances. So I'm assuming what they're expecting is that someone hits a double and all of a sudden spin rate spikes, or someone hits a home run and someone gets mad, and whatever the case is. If they actually think that players go out there and don't use anything and then all of a sudden when they need it, they just use it, then that's just ridiculous. It kind of seems, based on the wording, that that's what they think. That's not what happens at all. Like, if players use foreign substance, they use it the entire time they're on the mound. If they don't use it, they don't use it. But it's not a selective thing. In fact, like, it probably would be way more devastating if pitchers did selectively use it, and one time they spun the ball 3,000 RPMs and one time they spun it 1,800 RPMs. All very, very possible. With the use of foreign substance. However, no one really does that. It's like, oh, I can spin the ball faster and everyone wants more, more, more. Or I can spin the ball slower and everyone wants less, less, less. The concept of varying, using one spin rate on one pitch and another spin rate on another one and just moving things all around is not something that's very well adopted or talked about. It would be extremely effective, but not something that people really think about. So to think that a player is going to go out there and say, oh, I'm going to compete at what I deem to be a lesser level for the first part of the inning and risk giving up a double and getting myself in trouble. And then when I need it, then I'll use foreign substance and actually be good. That's just not how it works. So I'm hoping that's not what they think, but it kind of seems like that's what they think. Now, let's get into one of my favorite parts, umpire enforcement on the field Umpire enforcement on the field based will continue in a manner consistent with recent past practice. I don't know exactly what on the field based really means. But anyway, they're saying that umpire behavior is not going to change, which means that the only time an umpire is going to come out and check a pitcher is when the opposing manager asks the umpire to go check the pitcher. But given that probably well north of 70%, 69%, we'll go nice even number, 69%, of pitchers in the big leagues use something, no manager is going to have the other person checked unless it's just so blatantly obvious. I mean, the Pineda time comes to mind just as one of the most obvious times where you just blatantly see it. I was actually part of one of these things when my finger was bleeding in the postseason, and the Blue Jays manager came out and said, "Look, I didn't want to do this, but I can't. It's just bleeding all over the mound. Like, I have to say something." And it's like, "Yeah, we understand. It's not a big deal." But there's almost this apologetic, I don't want to have your pitcher checked. We just want to compete and whatever else. So the fact that umpires aren't going to be doing any sort of random checks, not that random checks would solve anything, as I've discussed with the league office multiple times already this spring, that just is more signal to me that they don't really care about enforcing this rule. What they care about is the public perception of the rule being enforced. So the foregoing enhanced monitoring measures, however, will provide the Commissioner's Office with a separate evidentiary basis to support a finding that a player has violated the foreign substance rules. To be clear, players are subject to discipline by the Commissioner's Office for violating the official baseball rules, regardless of whether evidence of the violation has been discovered during or following a game. And this is where I have a huge problem with all of this. Not that I don't have a problem with this stuff before, but this one is huge. You're going to say that if you deem after a game that the pitcher was to have used foreign substance, that you can go back and discipline that player when there's what is the chain of command of these balls? What is the chain of custody? So, like, are we going to have multiple people watching, when the ball gets thrown out? So, first off, all the stuff I laid out earlier, what if it was on the catcher's glove? What if it was on the hitter's bat? What if it was on the third baseman's glove? What if it was on, XYZ, whatever? But now you're going to toss the ball over somewhere and it's going to go to someone. And who's going to be watching on behalf of the player to make sure that that person doesn't happen to put some foreign substance on it to frame a player? And then that ball goes to the league's office. So who's going to be watching at the league's office? What is the chain of custody here that we're going to have if we're going to start enforcing the rules on players? Which, for those of you who don't know what the rules are, that comes with a fine for breaking the rules and a suspension without pay. So what is the chain of custody here on these balls that are going to be determined after the game that the pitcher has violated these rules? That's a serious issue. And something that I don't think, at least in this memo, hasn't been outlined, but something that I would want to know, is someone going to be able to frame me? What if I'm playing in Houston and Houston people just really don't like me for whatever reason? I don't know why Houston people wouldn't like me, but let's say Houston people don't like me and they just decide to frame me and put foreign substance all over the ball and try to frame it that way. Like, what happens then? What's my, how do I fight that? Something that hasn't really been discussed. And then they just go on to say that each club personnel, pitching coaches, hitting coaches, etc., clubhouse guys, whatever the case, are not allowed to use or instruct players on how to get around the foreign substance rules or distribute it or whatever the case is. But that's the memo, and there's a lot of issues with it. So just to detail kind of what I said in the meetings that I've had with the commissioner's office this spring training, you have to legalize the substance. That's the only way you're going to do it. You can't do random checks, because what are you going to do? You're going to have an umpire reach down someone's jock and touch his jock and see if he's got foreign substance down there. You're going to randomly check a pitcher every single pitch to make sure that no foreign substance ended up on their fingers. Good luck with the pace of play on that. You're going to check a pitcher before he walks out to the mound to make sure he's not bringing anything with him. Well, again, you're going to reach down his jock. You're going to find, what are you going to do? How are you going to find it? There's no good way to enforce this rule. What needs to happen is it needs to be selectively, there needs to be a certain substance like the rosin bag that's set on the back of the mound that pitchers can use. And so long as there's not visible globs of it or something on the baseball, obviously that would affect the aerodynamics of the ball tremendously, but that's very easy to be seen. So long as that is not the case, then a substance could be used. The problem is, and this is what the whole discussion in my head, if you boil it all the way down to the base building blocks of the entire situation, the very base issue is this. If a ball spins at 2,000 RPM on a fastball, and then the same spin axis and everything spins at 3,000 RPM, the 3,000 RPM ball will be harder to hit. But why is that? Is it harder to hit because hitters are only used to seeing 2,000 RPMs? And if they were to see 3,000 RPMs all the time, they would get good at hitting that. Or is it harder to hit because there's something about the human condition that 3,000 RPMs is harder to hit than 2,000 RPMs, and it will always be that case. There's two solutions to this. If players are equally able to hit 3,000 RPM or 2,000 RPM just based on what they train to hit, then you legalize the substance, everybody uses it, spin rates go up a little bit. They wouldn't go up very much because a lot of people in the league are already using it. So you'd see spin rate fall a tremendous amount if you get rid of it and actually enforce it. You'd see spin rate go up very, very slightly if you legalized it. And then hitters would just end up hitting, training themselves over the next couple of years to hit pitches that spin faster. And so the advantage for a pitcher of using a foreign substance to spin the ball faster would go away. The other option is if it's just intrinsically harder to hit 3,000 RPMs than it is 2,000 because of eyesight, because of whatever the case is, then there's not really a good solution, period. And you're just going to have to accept the fact that players are going to cheat because there's no good way to enforce any of it. The only good way to enforce it is to make the penalties so harsh that if you do happen to get caught, it dissuades a lot of people from using it. However, then you're just going to favor the people who are good at hiding it and who don't care for the rules at all, and they're going to take the gamble. Similar to the whole steroid issue. And this whole thing parallels the steroid issue very well. MLB knew about the steroid issue. They didn't do anything about it until it became public. MLB has known about the foreign substance abuse issue. They have done nothing until it became public, and now they're trying to do some sort of PR to clean up the game and signal that they are interested in, enforcing the rule. Which, again, this is my personal opinion, but I don't think they really care. I think what they want is more balls put in play and the public stain to go away. So those are my thoughts on the foreign substance memo that was just sent out. Do I think it will change anything? Absolutely not. Do I think anyone is going to get caught? I don't think so. Do I think anyone should get caught under these rules? No, I don't, because there's so many holes in them that it's just it's not very well thought through, or the memo that has been put out is just not very comprehensive of the thinking that's gone on behind the scenes. So my prediction, nothing changes. You're not going to see anyone getting ejected or fined or suspended or anything like that. Maybe a couple people in really glaring cases to try to send a message, but my prediction, just pandering to the public perception and, hey, we're solving this issue when they really don't care to solve it one way or the other for competitive integrity reasons. Now, they do care to solve it for getting more balls put in play and making the game more interesting or whatever the case is. But I don't think they really care about the competitive integrity. So those are my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts on it down below. If there's something I said that you really disagree with, I would love to hear it. If there's a counterpoint that I missed, I would love to hear that as well. I would love to hear how fans view this. Do fans care that the majority of pitchers are using foreign substance? Do fans care that MLB is going to try to enforce it, but nothing's really going to change, or whatever the case is? Any thoughts that you have, let me know in the comments below, because I really am interested in hearing the public's perception of this, since I'm kind of blinded by having been on this topic for 4 years now and trying to get something changed and just kind of screaming into the wind and having nobody hear me. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.